Raise your hand if you have lots of scraps of pattern paper. Yep, I have my hand up too. Well, stick with me because I'm going to show you a Sunburst card that will use up some of those scraps. Hi, I'm Linda Anderson from Linda Lou Creates, and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. I love card making and sharing this passion with others. Now, I created this Christmas card for the third installment of my Christmas in July in August series, but you can change up the papers and the sentiment for whatever you're going to need. So let me show you the supplies that you are going to need to use to create this card. First up, the card base. I've used mint macaron. It measures 8.5 by 5.5, and it is scored and folded at 4 1/4. You have a piece of Blushing Bride, and it measures 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. Then I have a piece of Whisper White, and it is 5 1/4 by 4. Now I do have another piece of Whisper White here, and I'll explain this one in a moment. The measurement on this is 5 by 2 3/4. Then I have a mat to go behind that, and it happens to be mint macaron, and it's 1/8 of an inch bigger. It is 5 1/8 by 2 7/8. Now, for the pattern paper, I happen to pull out of the Subtles 6x6 DSP pack the Blushing Bride and the mint macaron papers. Now, you're going to need 4 of these. I happen to have 3 different designs. I noticed that 2 of them are the gingham. It's up to you how you want to have your papers. One thing I would recommend though is do not have any that are directional. And so what I mean by that is, here is this paper that has script on the back of it. So one piece is going to possibly be upside down. So you don't want to have anything that's directional. So I would avoid that and just go with more of a geometric design for that. Now the measurements on these, each one measures 4 by 1 1/2. What you're going to do here is to create your sunburst effect is take each paper, each of these 4 by 1 1/2 inch strips, and you're going to cut them on the diagonal. Put them in your paper cutter and just cut them from corner to corner. And what excuse me, you will end up with is 2 pieces that look like this. You'll do that to all 4 of them. Okay, so now let me just move the card off to the side here for a moment while I pull in this piece, this white piece that I told you about. What I did was I wanted to find the center of my paper. Now remember, this measures 5 by 2 3/4. So I drew a line at 2 1/2 right down the center. Don't worry, that's going to be all covered up, so you're not going to see it. But go ahead and make sure that you know where that center line is. Now I've gotten it started with some adhesive, but what I like to do is put the adhesive on my piece of white as opposed to each individual strip of my pattern paper. So just go ahead, and I know you're going to think it's crazy, but go ahead and lay down as much as you can to cover all of this white. Okay, so here we go. Let me just move some things aside. Here are my strips. One thing that I want to make sure that you know to do is to have these center points when you go to lay them down on your piece of white, always pointing to the bottom. Okay, now I just happened to grab just all of the same pattern. I'm using the gingham, but I wanted to lay it out here just so I wanted to see how it would look. I'm thinking pretty fun. So here are all 8 pieces of that gingham. And like I said, make sure that the point is always at the bottom. Okay, so here I am. I'm going to pull back out my piece of white. I'm going to go ahead. I kind of start in the middle and then work my way on either end then with my piece of white. Let me just kind of bring this back in so you can see what I'm talking about here. Okay, So I am going to start. I have my 8 pieces here of my DSP. So I'm going to start with the 4th and 5th one. So what I mean is 1, 2, 3, the 4th one. Let me bring my piece of white back in. And what I'm going to do, I have to turn it sideways, this is how I can see best, is go ahead and lay this down on the left side of that center point and then just press it in. Okay. Now I'm going to take then the 5th piece. So the next piece is a piece of green. Like I said, I'm just trying to make this easy by using the same paper. So I'm just want to alternate the colors, and you're going to make sure that you butt this up against it. So make sure it is tight up against the piece that's already in place. Press that down into the adhesive. Now you can work your way out, fanning it out. And just make sure that you're going in the right order of colors, design. As you can see, let me pull this one back in. So again, it's pink, green, but I made sure that I went in the same design. So it was this design, the gingham, this design, and here. And it repeats exactly the same way. I just found that to be the most pleasing to the eye that way. So that's my suggestion there. And just go along making sure that you line these up, like I said, that they're tight up against each other. And especially when you come to this corner piece of the white paper, do make sure that it gets covered. So I may or may not cover it with this one. Yep, I did. See how that corner is covered up now? You definitely want that to happen. So let me get another pink in there and then a green. So always a couple points, making sure that the skinny point is down at the bottom. You're making sure that these are all facing the same direction, and be very careful when you get to the corner of your paper. Okay, so let me get one more in here. So this is another one. You have to be careful of the corner. If I went up here too high, look how that white sticks out. So make sure that that gets covered by putting this paper down far enough. Don't worry with how it looks right now. We're going to cut all that excess off and make sure that it's back to that square position, or that rectangular position of the 5 by 2 3/4. So see how I messed up on that one? I came down too low. So I need to pull this off and move it up to make sure that I am covering that corner. Still not there yet. Come on, Linda. You can do this. So there we go. Now I think I got it. Okay, pressing that down in there. And of course you want to make sure that these go below the paper as well, the cardstock, so that that's covered. So whatever you do, make sure that white cardstock is all covered up. Okay, looks kind of crazy right now, but you get the idea of how it all comes down to a point here. Now, can I find my big scissors? Yes, I can. So I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to use my big scissors and just trim it off right along the edge. So let's get that done to all 4 sides. Okay. Last one. All right, let's flip it over. There's the reveal. I kind of like it in all the gingham, but then I'm partial to the gingham. So, okay, let me just clean up my spot here for a second. Get some of these extra pieces off. There we go. Now, this piece with all of your Sunburst pattern on will go on to the mat that I happen to pick as mint macaron, so for mine. Like I said, you can do any kind of paper, any colors, any sentiment that you want. I just went with the Christmas. And pink and green, kind of close to being red and green. I know I'm usually a non-traditional colors for my Christmas cards. But yeah, I thought I would change it up a little bit and go sort of traditional. So let me go ahead and finish putting it together now. So here we go. This will go down to our 5 1/4 by 4 inch piece of Whisper White, which will then, because as you're getting to learn, I love the layers. I feel like I can add color easily and quickly by layering up my cardstock here. So down to the pink, or rather the Blushing Bride. Now as you see, I added some linen thread to this one. So that's just 3 pieces of linen thread that I have cut to the little more so than the length of this panel. So I'm going to just flip it over onto the back. Sure I am. It will not cooperate, will it? There we go. Now I just happen to have some tape here. I just use double stick tape because that's what's here, and that way it'll help to hold that down for me when I go to put it down to the card. So let me try and attempt to get this to go straight across. Okay, and another piece of double stick tape to hold that end in place. Now I'm ready to go ahead and put this down to my card base. Okay. Okay. So here we go. Now I happen to have a stitched oval cut out of Whisper White, which I will use the stamp set Lots of Cheer. I think this one is adorable, and I love the sentiments that came with it. So I picked out the one here, May Your Christmas Be Wrapped Up in Holiday Spirit. So I'm going to just ink that up in Mint Macaron and get that stamped. Okay, excellent. Let me close this up. Now I'm going to go ahead, I would mount that onto a piece of Blushing Bride. I already cut out the oval, scalloped oval that is, out of the Blushing Bride, and applied some dimensionals on it. So this is the ends of the dimensionals, so make sure you can use those all up. The whole pack can get used of dimensionals. I'm going to go ahead and get this down. Okay. Try and center it up. And just to add a little bit of sparkle here, I'm going to pull in some rhinestones then. So I'm just going to fill in 2 on this side. And then 2 on this end. There we go. Awesome. So here is a fun Sunburst Christmas card using up some of your paper scraps. Now if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my YouTube channel by clicking the little bell so you don't miss out on anything new. You can find more inspiration over on my blog at lindaloucreates.com. You can also find me on Facebook at Linda Lou Creates as well. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you have a chance to get creative. Bye now.